Welcome back everyone. For today's video we are going to be taking a look at the early title Tuesday played today, November 19th of the great year 2024. Now those of you guys who have been following my live streams, or maybe just in general Tuesdays specifically, I've been on a massive heater. I have won 3 title Tuesdays in a row. I won the evening title Tuesday on November 5th, and I won both title Tuesdays on November 12th. So I'm trying to go for history and win my 4th title Tuesday. Now title Tuesday, very strong event. All the top players in the world show up for it, and much like in the past weeks, the competition is extremely stiff. So we're going to pick it up where I'm playing against Alireza in the 6th round of this tournament, and going into this round I am currently on 4.5 points out of 5. Alireza I believe is on 5 points, and let's jump right into the action. So I'm playing with the white pieces in the 6th round game, and I start out with the move b3. Now when I play the move b3, the reasoning behind this move is that I want to avoid theory. Now this is something I've played against Alireza, probably dating as far back as maybe 2016, 2015, but it's just a way to play a game of chess. So after b3, Alireza plays e5, I go bishop b2, and now he plays the move d6. Now what Alireza wants to do here is he keeps some flexibility. Black can play g6 and bishop g7 here, maybe down the road d5 as well, but you also want to simply blunt the force of this op on b2 towards the black king side. So I play e3, Alireza goes knight f6, and now I play this move g3. Now in this position I can play d4 here, maybe knight e2 and f4 is an idea as well, but ultimately I decide, you know what, I am a streamer first, let's play for the memes. So when I play g3 and we get bishop e7, now I go bishop g2, Alireza castles, and here I play the move knight e2. Now those of you guys who have watched my very popular videos playing against the various bots on the chess.com website, including Komodo and Stockfish, you'll notice this opening should look familiar because this is what is called the classic hippopotamus opening. Now I don't know the exact origins of this opening, but generally what white aims to do is play d3, and after d5 castles, a5 a3, rook e8, I actually play h3, and now knight d2, is we get this position where you have all these pawns out here. Now my understanding of this opening is it looks like a hippopotamus. It's like the hippo that's smiling, I think, with the teeth in front. So you have all these teeth in front of your pieces, which are on the 2nd rank. It is very flexible, however, because you have the double op combo, or the X with the bishops. You have these knights, which can jump very easily towards the center of the board, so it's not actually all that bad. And on top of that, Alireza here, when he plays d5 back on move number 7, he has wasted a tempo. He has played d6 and then d5 instead of playing d5 in one go. Like let's say back here, d5 in one go, that takes one move versus d6 and then d5. So we get to the position after knight to d2 here. I played the classic hippopotamus opening, which is not really great, and frankly as I was live streaming this, I thought that I might get into trouble because against a player of Alireza's caliber who is so strong, who can use his time at the critical moments, find the best moves, and then play like a god when he has 2 seconds left on the clock, it feels like this might be a bridge too far. That being said, sometimes you just have to go for it. So Alireza plays bishop f8 here, and now I play the move g4, and the idea behind this move is to play knight g3. Now I have played such setups against none other than the 5-time world champion Magnus Carlsen, and because I've played this with the colors reversed, you're always a little bit worried about a move like h5 here. In fact, when I was doing my live stream, I thought h5 could be a big problem, and sure enough, h5 is in fact the best move according to the computer. Now I don't remember exactly which game it was, but when I played Magnus in tour final with the colors reversed, there was a game where Magnus played the move h3 to h4, and he obliterated me in that game. I got destroyed in the match, and so I was a little bit worried about this option. However, Alireza plays bishop d6. Now I go knight to g3. Now it makes a little bit more sense because even though I pushed my p up with h3 and g4, I have this knight which spies the e4, f5, and h5 squares. Alireza plays knight to e7 here, and now I play the move e4. Now this is a move that I hated. I did not want to play this move, but pretty much as soon as I played knight g3, I realized that I should have played c4 right away, and the reason is that I need to attack this big black center right away. Now what do I mean by that? What I mean is that after knight g3 and knight e7, if I go c4 here, black can play c6, and now you keep the center intact, and black is doing very, very well. Additionally, this pawn, let's just say I take this pawn on d5, covers some critical squares for the knight here on d2, and black has great chances to get a clean advantage. So I end up playing the move e4, and this is pretty much desperation by me here. What I want to do is I want to force Alireza into a situation where he has to make a tough decision. So while Alireza played d4, simply closing the diagonal down and allowing me to play knight c4 perhaps, or even f4 here, trying to launch a kingside attack with the pawns, or will he play something more sensible like c6 to reinforce his big black center? Sure enough, Alireza plays c6, but here I'm now able to play the move d4, and what I really like about this position is that my moves become a little bit easier to play. The position is opening up, I'm getting the diagonals for d's bishops here, and it's looking really, really good. So after d4, we get the move e takes d4, and now here I play the move bishop takes pawn, and Alireza goes knight g6. Now one of the drawbacks of pushing p with e4 and g4 here is that now black's knight can jump to h4, f4, creating one of the 31 great tactics you need to know, which is the bastion, also known in old chess nomenclature as the outpost. So after knight to g6, here I play the move e takes d5, and now Alireza takes with the pawn, and I go queen to f3. Now at this point, Alireza plays knight h4, I go queen d3, we get takes, and in this position, it feels like white should be a little bit worse. Black has the two b's here. Additionally, I don't have my fianchettoed bishop anymore. My king is on g2. However, this light square b cannot attack me on the diagonal because there's this pawn in the way. Now, speaking of great chess terms, this is what we also like to call the classic isolated pawn, or the isolani, which is blockaded by the wooden shield on d4 here. So I do have a little bit of counterplay, and it's actually not easy for black to prove the advantage. So we get knight d7 here from Alireza. Now I play the move rook a to e1 here after about a 20-second think. I really wanted to go for some flash tactics, playing the move bishop takes g7. After watching a great video yesterday about basic tactics, including the fork, I really was hoping to get this. Now if I take and black were to take the free bishop, there's knight to f5, forking the king and the bishop. I capture the bishop, and with that I should win the game. However, here black can take the knight first, and after takes king g7, I thought that maybe I could sack the rook with rook takes pawn, but after takes, check, and king to e6, running the king out of the center of the board, white is simply losing. So instead I play the move rook a to e1. After rook a to e1, Alireza trades the rooks, and now he plays the move knight c5. Here I take the knight, he takes back, and now I go a4 here, avoiding hanging this pawn on a3. Now at this point, the computer actually thinks that white is okay, and I was pretty happy here, even though I'm down nearly 35 seconds on the clock, because these knights have some great squares. My knight can go to d4 for the blockade, I can go to e5, I also can go to h5 or f5. So with these knights versus these bishops, the knights are slightly preferable. So here we get rook c8. Now I play knight to h5 here, and the idea behind this move is that I want to pressure this pawn on g7. Let's just say black plays a move like, I don't know, queen c7. I can go queen c3 here, lining up the threats towards the pawn, and I'm doing quite well. Additionally, black struggles here to remove the horse, because if you play g6, I can sack the rook with rook takes bishop, and after takes, check, and knight f6, you have to give up the queen, and now it's all over but the crying. So Alireza plays move queen c7. Here I go, or not queen c7, sorry, he plays move queen to d6, and here I play this move knight to d4. Now at this point, I have achieved everything that I could dream of. I've got these knights, knight on the edge pressuring the pawn, the knight on d4 blockading the pawn, pressuring the bishop on e6, and at this point I started feeling very optimistic that I was going to win the game. Not only have I recovered all the time that I was down earlier, but additionally my moves are a lot easier. I look to fork with these knights, and Alireza has to be very careful not to lose the game. So Alireza plays bishop d7. Now I go knight to f5 here, trying to fork the queen and the pawns, and Alireza decides to take the knight. Here I take back, he goes rook to d8, and now I play the move queen to e5. Now this is a move that I think shows how good my form was in this game specifically, because I don't think queen e5 is necessarily the best move, but is by far and away the best practical decision, because it forces queens off the board, meaning we're in a technical endgame. So there are very small chances that Alireza will be able to cheese me. Additionally, with the knight versus the bishop, all my pawns here on the queen side, opposite color of the bishop, and it gives me great chances to win with zero risk whatsoever. So Alireza trades the queens. Of course, he can't move the queen away, because then I take and he gets checkmated on the g7 square. So he trades the queens. Now he goes bishop d4. I play rook e2, and here we get the move g6. Now it's interesting because the computer here actually likes to move rook to e7, but I was very afraid of the move rook to c8, simply putting pressure on the pawn on c2. So I go rook to e2. Alireza goes g6. I go knight to f4. We get bishop f6, and now I play the move rook d2. Here Alireza plays move d4, and this is actually a fairly serious mistake. Now it's clear that we both overlooked the correct move here, which is to play bishop g5, pinning the knight, and I think we both thought, well, rook takes pawn. If black takes a knight, you win the rook, it's game over. If black trades rooks, well, white simply has an extra pawn on the queen side and will win the game. But after rook takes pawn, there is rook to c8 here, and now both the horse and the pawn are under attack, and black should draw the game. Instead, Alireza plays d4. Now I go knight d3, rook c8, knight b2, rook c5, we go back, and now I play move rook to e2. Now at this point, the reason that white is much better, or I would say it's easier to play specifically in a blitz game versus classical, is that all my pawns opposite color of the bishop can't touch anything here. The knight blockades the pawn on d4, and I control this open e file as well, so black can't easily get the king over to the center of the board. So Alireza goes king g7, I play f4. Additionally, on top of that, I have 29 seconds versus 5 seconds, but luckily I've lost enough games to Alireza by this point where he gets really low and then plays like a god, so I knew not to start celebrating too early. We get g5, I go king f3, rook c6, and now I play the move f5. And at this point, this is what I like to call perfect harmony, because look at all of my pieces, the pawns, the knight, the rook, and the king, opposite color of the priest on f6. This bishop is not touching anything for the entirety of the game. So we get rook c7. Now I play rook d2, rook c8, rook e2, bunch of dilly-dallying here, by the way, and I finally play the move knight to f2, intending to go for knight to e4 and attack the bishop or jump towards the center of the board, because this knight does fork. So here we get rook c7. I play knight to e4, Alireza goes b6, and now I play the move knight d6. Now, in a classical game, I would make the argument this position should be pretty easy to draw from the black side if you have a lot of time. But in blitz games, this is what I like to call one of the things that you need to learn in the classic defense of the dark arts, because in blitz, the dark arts are very different, where this position is a draw in a normal game, but because the knight has all these squares to jump to, there's so many ways to fork. White's moves are so easy. It's very hard to play with the bishop versus the knight. The knight is simply worth more than a bishop in a blitz game, but in a classical game, they're basically the same here. So we get b6. Now I go knight to d6, and suddenly Alireza has serious issues here, because now I'm trying to go for one of the classic family forks. I'm going to fork the bishop, the king, and the rook all at the same time, and it is going to be an absolute disaster. Additionally, after rook c6, now I can play knight to c4 here, and I've closed off the file, but my knight on c4 is guarded by the pawn, and now both of these pawns on b6 and a5 are being spied by the horse, and I also have a free hand to bring my king right into the center of the board. So Alireza goes king f8. Now I play the move king to f3. Alireza goes king g7, and now I play rook to e8, an all-star move here, as now the rook is sneaking in from behind. I want to go rook b8 and then simply win this pawn on b6 here. You can't go back to guard the pawn, and if I win this pawn with a rook combined with no open files here, this is an absolute disaster.
Watch the show or watch the show. Thank you.
So after rook to e8, Alireza plays the move rook to c5, and now I play the move king to e4. Now after king to e4, Alireza plays b5, we get takes, and here I go king to d3. Now I could have played rook to a8 here as well, but I was actually worried that if I played rook to a8 trying to win the pawn, maybe Alireza would go d3, takes rook d5, something like king e2 and bishop c3, and even though I'm up a pawn on the king side or the queen side, I can't easily push p here. The rook is infiltrating, and it feels like it's not as easy to win. So I play king d3, and this also is about optimizing the situation and reducing the amount of counterplay your opponent has. So we get rook c5. I play rook to a8 now, no d3 ideas. The files remain very close here, and Alireza plays rook c7. I take, he goes rook e7, and now I play the move rook to a1. Black has no entries on the e file. Knight covers e3, king covers e2, rook covers e1, and now I have a free hand to start pushing p on the queen side and glide to victory. So Alireza goes rook b7, trying to stop the pawn. I play rook to b1 here. We have bishop e7, and now I take the pawn on d4. Now this move is maybe not the best move, but at this point I'm starting to get a little bit low on time, and you just want to get rid of the risk. So I take, we got rook d7, king e4, bishop f6, and now I play the move king f3. Not b4 here, because after rook to d4 check, I would lose the knight and the game, and it would be one of those very, very unfortunate situations. So I go king f3. Alireza plays rook d4, I go king to e3, we get h5, and now I play the move rook to g1. He goes rook f4, and now I play rook g2, trying to dodge this very nasty idea of bishop d4 check, winning the rook on g1. So I go rook g2, we got bishop d4, king e2, bishop f6, and now I play knight to d2, we get takes, bishop c3, and here I play the move knight to f3. Alireza goes back, trying to guard the pawn, and here I play the move king e3, and Alireza plays rook b4. Now, to his credit, Alireza has defended this extremely well. He is down 2 pawns on the queen side, but this rook is very active. It pressures the pawns here, both on b3 and g4, so it's not super easy to win. I play knight e2, we get check, I go king f3, bishop f6, and now I play the move knight e4. Alireza goes bishop e7, and here I play the move rook to d2. Now at this point, once again, all of my pieces are on the opposite color of the bishop, so with the bishop unable to attack anything here, I am going to win the game. We get f6, I play rook d7, king f8, and now I go rook d3, rook b8, and finally, at long last, I'm able to play the very explosive move c4. Alireza plays king f7, I play c5 here. At this point, with its great bastion, which is hitting everything and guarding in the center of the board, this is also what we like to call the octopus horse. I'm just going to keep pushing my p, and Alireza will be helpless. So we got rook h8, I go c6, rook c8, rook c3, king e8, and now I play the move rook c4. Alireza goes king to d8, and now I play the move knight c3, and this is really the last important move of the game, because when I bring the knight to c3, I'm rotating to the d5 square to fork everything once again, and black has no way of stopping this. Alireza already could have resigned, but he plays bishop d6, knight d5, bishop e5, and now I play b4, continuing to push the p. We get rook to a8, b5, why not? Check, king e2, and now we get the move rook b3. Here I play c7. I could have played b6 as well, by the way, followed by c7, but I saw that when I go c7, if black tries to move the king, I check the king, I queen the pawn, and I win the game. So Alireza sacks the bishop with bishop takes pawn, takes, king d7, knight d5, king d6, I take the pawn on f6, he takes on b5, and now I play the move knight e4. Alireza goes king d5, and here I play knight to c3, checking the king, forking both the king and the rook here, and after takes, if black takes, I can push the p, f6, f7, king is a little bit too slow getting back, I get the queen, and I win the game. So with this win, this would move me to 5.5 points out of 6. I would continue my winning ways in rounds 7, 8, and 9, and now we're going to move into the 10th round. So in the 10th round, I am playing with the white pieces against the 5-time Norwegian world champion, Magnus Carlsen. Once again, this shows just how strong the tournament has become, that all the top players play in this event. So against Magnus with the white pieces, I decided to play e4. I could have played b3 like I did against him in the Global Chess League, but you know what? I want to be aggressive. So I play e4, pawn to king 4, best by test, according to the first American world champion, Bobby Fischer. So Magnus plays c5, playing the Sicilian, showing that he is not happy to make a draw here. He wants to be aggressive. I go knight f3, e6, and now I play the move c3. Magnus goes d5, we get takes, d4, and now we have knight f6. Now I believe when I did my recap a few weeks ago, Magnus and I played this exact same position, but in that game, I think I already did something a little bit different on move number 6. I don't believe I played bishop b5. I think I played bishop e3 if I remember correctly, so I deviated quite early. So in this game, I play the move bishop b5. Magnus blocks, we trade, and now I castle my king. Magnus goes bishop e7, I take, he takes, and now I play bishop e3. Now at this point, it's a very simplified position here for white. What I want to argue is that this isolated pawn is a weakness, and I have no real weaknesses in the position. But according to the basic rules of chess, the general theory goes that if you have one weakness, i.e. the isolated pawn, generally that's not enough for your opponent to win the game. Your opponent needs to have 2 or 3 weaknesses to attack, because just attacking one point is not enough. And we know that, of course, from many of the great wars in history as well. So after bishop to e3, we get castles from Magnus Carlsen, and here I play the move knight bd2. Magnus goes rook to e8. Now I play knight b3 here, trying to exchange the knights off the board. And if we get the exchange here, and I can play bishop d4, now I have this great wooden shield in the middle of the board. My queen is targeting 2 weaknesses, the pawn on d5 and the pawn on b7 at the same time, and it's very hard to play for black. Instead, Magnus goes knight c to e4. Now I play h3 here, trying to stop him from playing knight to g4, but also creating what we call the classic Luft for the king to escape, so there are no ice skater checkmates. Here we get h6, I play knight fd2, and now Magnus plays knight d6. Now the reason I play knight d2 is I'm always arguing that the more pieces that come off the board here, the easier it will be to attack the pawn, whereas if black can keep all these minor pieces, the knights and the bishop on the board, it's going to be very hard to get after the isolated pawn. So I go queen f3, Magnus plays queen d7, and now I play this move rook a d1 after a 15-second thing. Now I agonized on this move because I was debating which rook do I want to put on d1. Now on the one hand, I want to put the f rook on d1 and go rook a c1, but fundamentally the problem with this position here, and ignore the actual exact moves, is that I wasn't convinced that I'm going to be able to play c4 and open up both the d and the c files. For example, say we got, I don't know, let me just set up a position, something like this. For example, c4 is not easy to play. The knight, the pawn, and the queen cover the square, and I just wasn't convinced I could force this file open. So if I can't force this file open, then the rook on c1 is misplaced. So ultimately I end up playing the move rook a d1, and the argument here is that the rook, if I can ever get an open file, will always have pieces that it can pressure on this file. Additionally, if I get the rook to e1, now both of these rooks are very active here, and I think I can be better. So when I play rook a d1, I thought that I was doing okay, but I overlooked the great move that Magnus plays here, which is queen to a4, putting pressure on his pawn on a2, and also stopping me from playing c4 and taking away any pin threats on the d file. So I go rook a1 here. This is not a move that I wanted to play, but ultimately, because the position is so dry here, even though I've wasted time by going rook a d1 and then rook a1 back, it's still okay. Magnus plays rook a d8. Here I go rook f d1, and now we get the move knight f e4, and I decide to play knight d4. Now what I understood at this point in the game is that I'm not getting any pressure on the center of the board. These knights are very well placed. The rooks are on d8 and e8. Black has great placement, so now I need to figure out what can I do here. If I'm not winning this pawn, maybe I can shift my pieces and try to go after the king on the king side. So I play knight to d4 here. Magnus goes bishop f6, and now I trade the knights, and he takes with the pawn. Now if Magnus were to take with a knight here after queen to g4 followed by knight f5, or even maybe knight f5 right away, it's getting a little bit scary here because Black's king has no real defenders around it. You just have a couple of measly pawns and a lone bishop guarding the king, and with the knight, the bishop, and the queen near the Black king, it feels like White is getting an attack. So that's why Magnus takes with a pawn. Now I go queen to g4 anyway, trying to win the juicer. Say we got a6, I take the pawn. Spaghetti-o, you can't recapture, you're just down a pawn on the king side, and now White is getting a raging attack. So after queen g4, Magnus goes king h8. I play bishop to f4 here, trying to target the knight on d6, and now Magnus finds the best move, queen to a6. Now I've said it many times, we don't need to glaze Magnus over and over, but it's incredible how he has this tendency to sense the critical moment, to sense like when there's something wrong, when there's just a little bit of danger in the position, and this showcases it perfectly because Magnus finds it in him from the intuitive standpoint to use 30 seconds before playing this move queen a6, and this is the absolute best move here. After this move, the evaluation is approximately 0.00, and this just shows how great Magnus is as a chess player and the natural feel he has for this game, because this is simply astounding to me. It'd be very easy to start getting worried about the position. The bishop spies the knight, there's pressure on the king side, knight f5 is coming, say you go knight b5, and there's like knight f5, suddenly there are big sacks on the king side, Black's pieces are way offside on the queen side here, and White will almost certainly win the game. But Magnus finds queen a6 the best move, guarding this knight on d6 here, but on top of that, now after I play queen to h5, here he plays the move king to g8. Even knight c4 is maybe possible as well, because if I were to sack the bishop after takes and king g8, the queen guards the bishop from being captured, and now Black is winning the game. So after queen h5, Magnus goes king g8, and now I decide to play queen g4, effectively offering a draw here, and we end up repeating in this situation. Magnus probably afraid of knight c4, knight f5 here. And really for me, if I don't go queen g4, I'm not really sure what I'm playing for either here. The knight covers f5, there's some pressure on the diagonal, Black's rooks are well placed, so it felt like a good time to sort of put my foot on the brakes, and I end up making the draw by repetition here with queen h5 and queen g4, and the game ends peacefully with a draw. So this game would end in a draw, meaning that going into the fateful 11th round, both Magnus and I would be on 9 points out of 10. Now, in round 11, I would win a masterful game with a black piece against Alexei Serana from Russia, and Magnus would also win his game against, I actually forgot who he won his 11th round game against, but Magnus would win his 11th round game against the two-time world championship challenger Jan Nepomniachtchi, meaning we both would end up on 10 points out of 11, tying for first place. But at the end of the day, I would have the better tiebreak, and I would win my 4th title Tuesday in a row, setting a new record Back in April, I won 3, but this is the first time I believe that anyone has ever won 4 in a row. Tonight, I will try to make it 5 for 5, become the 5-time Title Tuesday champion. We'll see if I can do it. No doubt I'll be facing stiff competition, but it's been a great ride. And most importantly, I hope you guys have enjoyed this recap from the early Title Tuesday today, November 19th of the great year 2024. If you are not already subscribed to the channel, make sure that you smash that subscribe button below, and we'll be back with some more great recaps in the next couple of days. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.